The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRCMedia, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
The Fall River School Committee is one of 3 races that are on the ballot here in Fall River as we head to the November 4th election, and we're trying to meet with as many candidates as possible so you can make informed decisions when you go vote on Election Day. And I'm pleased to be joined by one of the challengers, a newcomer who hopes to get on the school committee, John Sylvia. John, how are you? Thank you for joining me.
Good. I'm great, Keith. How about yourself?
You know, for those of you, the people out there who don't know you, this is your first time, I believe, running for office.
Correct, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I went to BMC Durfee High School, but I also went to Morton. I moved here when I was in 8th grade, and I've been here ever since. But graduated from Durfee, went on after Durfee. After a year, school just wasn't gelling for me, and I went on and joined the U.S. Army and was in Fort Jackson, Fort Sill, Oklahoma. After 2 years, I figured, I was gonna go to Korea on a company tour, and I was already married at the time, so I didn't think that would be really the greatest thing. Only been married about a year or so we came back, and I started working for the federal government. Started at the Navy in Newport, went on to the VA, and ended at the U.S. Department of Labor. I retired a year and a half ago after 40 years of government service. But in between that time, I've been married 40 years. I have a 37-year-old daughter who is also an educator, but not here in Fall River. I was also heavily involved in my neighborhood group, the Niagara Neighborhood Association. And I like to think that we've done some great things in the group. We advocated for things at Pulaski Park, such as basketball courts, playground equipment, and we also wrote a grant through the CPA to get a water park or water sprinkler that they have, the new things out now. And we also, Helen Rigo has been the president off and on like myself, and we got a nice a nice park sign, Pulaski Park, probably one of the nicer ones in the city.
Yeah.
And we also got together and got a neighborhood banners that we put up, and so I like to think we've done a lot of good things. Also, in the interim with that, I was and I still am. I'm the president of the Fall River Street Tree Planting Program right now, out of default, because a lot of people after COVID it really kind of dissipated a lot. But I've been part of that group for the last 15 years. Very proud of that. We've planted a lot of trees in the city of Fall River. And that was due in part to the founder, Marianne Wardell. She did a lot of advocating for trees and got a tree ordinance. Yeah. That's one thing. I think the neighborhood stuff is really great, but for me, the environment, the trees. Yeah. When I go by certain trees we planted, I'm like, I was involved in that.
I remember when that was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of cool. I mean, when you're just an ordinary person, what is your legacy? You try to do the best you can, but there's something that other people might see later on.
Yeah. So let me ask you, why run now, and why run for city council? City council. Why run for? You're not running for city council. Why run for school committee?
Yeah. Well, I mean, why now? I retired a year and a half ago. I have time. I mean, I've done a lot of traveling over the last year. I've been a few different places, so but it's funny when you travel, it's tiring. You're having fun, but it's like you're flying to different places overseas, and I'm not young anymore. I'm not old. I'm 61, but it's like it kind of I'm not like 30 before I could just fly and fly to another place, and it's like 6 a.m. you were in the plane all night,
Yeah.
So but also the fact that I think nationwide, worldwide, everybody's frustrated, and I think I like to think I'm a person that is going to go in there. I want to do the right thing. I did that when I worked. You work in an environment, this person doesn't get along with this person, that. We're not friends. We got to go in there and do a job. and just not get involved in all that. And that's what I hope I can bring to the table. I will do the right thing, or I won't be involved in the organization. If I don't think things are going right, you know what I mean, I'll just move on.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest reasons why.
So let me ask you, as you work toward running for the school committee, what do you think is the number one issue you want to focus on? I mean, there's plenty of issues. I want to ask a few of them, obviously, here today. But what do you think is your top issue that you want to focus on?
Yeah, I mean, having the HR background, I'd really like to look at the recruitment part of it. There are over 100 vacancies, and I know there's a teacher-wide shortage. And being an urban district, people can work in a smaller town and not have the issues we have here. So it does take a special person to work here. But what I'd really like to focus in on is the HR part. And I'll give you an example, Keith. I've been, around the campaign trail, going to different fundraisers. And one thing I hear is that people will apply for a job in Fall River and they don't hear anything back. And me working in the federal government, we had that same issue. So I believe it was President Obama came in and wanted to revamp all the HR systems. And one was like a great program is to every time you touch that application, you have to notify the person. So I like to see us set up a program where you apply for the job, we send you an email that says we received your application. Number 2, you were qualified, you weren't qualified. Number 3, you were referred to the selecting official. And lastly, you got the job or you didn't get the job. I think what happens is, and being in the HR field is, if you apply for a job 2 or 3 times and you never hear anything back, people are like, why should I even apply? You got no feedback. And when I worked in, for the federal government, people would call, and I loved giving feedback to say, hey, your application, you didn't give enough for us, first of all, to qualify you, and second of all, the selecting officials are looking at this and saying, there's not enough there. Maybe there could be more. So I really think that we need to reach out and fix that, because maybe it's not going to solve 100%, but maybe it will solve a little bit of the issue. So that's one thing I think I can tackle because I have the experience in that. And it's a simple thing. It's common sense. Like, just let's get this together on a program. And when somebody touches it, we send these emails out and see how that goes. It may or may not make a difference. In the past, it has when I worked in the federal government.
Yeah.
So.
The school department has seen a large influx of more money into its budget thanks to the Student Opportunity Act in Massachusetts. The city is also paying more because of net school spending and the like. Yeah. There's been a lot of money in a short period of time. From what you've seen, again, you haven't been part of the school committee. Do you feel that money's been well spent? Do you feel that it could be spent in different ways, more focused maybe on teaching and learning, less on administrators? We hear that a lot in terms of people who are running and just people who view what's happening in the school department.
Yeah, I mean, we know money isn't always the solution. Throwing money at a problem is not always going to solve the solution. And I think me working for the federal government I kind of have an idea of how the city works, because I'm sure this is the same way. We would have a budget, and basically September 30th, they'd be like, we got to spend this, that, and the other thing. And if you don't spend it, you don't get the budget next year. I'm not going to buy pencils or whatever to keep that budget. If we don't use it, give it to somebody else. So I think that's been part of the problem. Like, you come to the end of the fiscal year and they've got to rush to spend it. But what I would like to really see, the money spent toward the paras, and I think also toward the teachers. We have an issue, I think, nationwide, but I think maybe we could be the leader to start that. The paras do a lot of work. They fill in for the teachers a lot of time. Maybe you could probably increase their salary to get more folks in here, or offer recruitment bonuses, retention bonuses to keep folks here. But having the HR background, I think part of it is if people don't feel respected or feel that their opinion matters, they'll leave and go somewhere else. So I think that sometimes that is a bigger issue than compensation, to feel like you matter, that people are listening to your opinion. People will go out and really work hard for you when they know that.
Yeah.
So,
the issue of student test scores has always been an issue here in Fall River. The city lags behind a lot of communities. I mean, there's reports that there are 320 out of 350. I don't know what the numbers are. I guess it's like anything else, depending on the the survey that is being done. How, as a school committee member, can you help the school department in that end, or is it a bigger issue in terms of not necessarily the students or not necessarily the teachers, but maybe even getting parents more involved in their students' education?
Yeah. Well, if anybody's graduated from Durfee High School, and I think they still do this, I graduated in 1982, a long time ago. Probably
1 year before me, by the way.
All right. So probably a lot of people weren't even born that might be listening to this, but we went into the auditorium, and you probably remember this. And I don't know who it was. It might have been the principal that said, look to your right and look to your left, and half these people will not be here in 1982 when you're set to graduate. So this is nothing new. Our dropout rate has been going on since the 80s. For me, the testing is a good thing. However, the testing is not showing people's overall ability to do things. Some people are not very good test takers. And that's why with the MCAS, I wasn't really a big fan with the MCAS, because what are we doing in school? We're teaching kids to the test. Are we actually teaching them to think critically? So the testing thing, I understand we want to get that, but what are these tests? Are they the MCAS tests? Do they show that they're proficient and able to go to school? I know when I was in school, most people went on to BCC and had to take, courses that were probably taken in high school because, people weren't proficient enough. So that's how I look at that. The testing thing, it's been going on for years. I don't hold as much weight with that. Would it be nice to do better? Yes. Yeah. And I have looked. It's not only Fall River. New Bedford is below us. Brockton's around the same area. Every gateway city is, in the same boat. And I believe that's because most people, they're coming from single-parent homes, and the parents have to work. I was the same way. Back in the 70s, I was a latchkey kid. Got home from school, locked the doors. If you didn't behave, your neighbors were calling your mom or your dad when you got home that said they weren't behaving. So it's very hard if you're coming from a single-parent home, and I know that with my mom, to get involved in school. You're working 1 or 2 jobs, very difficult.
Yeah. A lot also has been made in terms of, this is multifaceted, social media. The schools now have the Yonder pouches, the second year at Durfee and the middle schools as well, keeping them out of the classroom, which leads potentially to bullying issues. There's a lot more on students' plates maybe than when we were in school. Yeah. Do you think that the district is going in the right direction? Let's say with the cell phone use and the like.
I think the cell phone program is great. And this is coming from somebody a little older. The phones with all of us have just begun something that you're always holding on to. I mean, just go to the grocery store, and sometimes if there's nobody in the kids' line, they're looking at the phone, and they're not like, "Hey, come over here, you're next." So it's a distraction, and I think it's necessary to put that away. I totally agree with that program. With the cell phone program. The bullying program, I was a very quiet kid in high school. So we didn't have phones, you know what I mean? But everybody's been bullied since probably the dark ages, you know what I mean? Everybody's had issues. Yeah, it's probably exacerbated with the phones. I totally get it. But it's been an issue over time. And everybody's been picked on no matter what. And you know what? Sometimes it makes you stronger.
Yeah,
it does make you stronger. So, but that's my 2 cents with it.
Yeah. So, if elected, you'll be working with whoever the mayor is at that time.
Yeah.
Are you supporting anyone for mayor?
No. I mean, I've been going to everybody's event. And we haven't even had we're not having a primary, so I've kind of started this a little earlier. Right. So, I know all the candidates. One of them I know personally. Mm-hmm. They're all great people. But yeah, this time I'm going to work with whoever is in office.
Now, it's very unique this year because there will be at least 3 new members of the school committee, as 3 of the incumbents decided not to run. How do you view the workings of the committee? There's a lot made online about their relationships with one another and the animosity toward one another? How do you hope to help, crack that code and be cooperative?
Yeah. I like to think I listen to both sides of the story. I'll listen to each thing, and what it is, Keith, it's your side, my side, and then it's the total truth. So I think sometimes what's happened is that, with anything, relationships, you need to communicate. And I think there needs to be more communication. And then sometimes it just gets to where it's a relationship where I have a relative that they're, in the process of breaking up, and it's like, it's not working. I'm always like, what, keep on going, try, but this is not going to work. So I think it's a good thing. Maybe we get new people in now. We get 3 new people in, and maybe that'll change the dynamic of things,
Yeah.
So.
All right, John Sylvia, candidate for school committee. I do appreciate your time. All the best. I'm sure we'll talk soon.
All right, great. Thanks.
All right, and thank you for joining us here in FRC Media. And please make a point to vote on Tuesday, November 4th.